Jump straight into this explainer, where we're going to decode a really profound, high accountability blueprint. We're looking at what the source material calls becoming a true thinking capitalist. We're going to explore this philosophical and, frankly, deeply practical framework forged by a figure known as Glenn. This whole system is designed to literally rewire how you view economic exchange, systemic hurdles, and, most importantly, your own personal agency.
We've got a lot of ground to cover today, so we're going to move fast. We'll start by exposing the value leak, then we'll dive into the Sentient Sentinel protocol and this concept called umushia. After that, we'll break down the boss vocabulary, learn the 8 laws of success, and wrap it all up with the try, not cry legacy.
All right, part 1, exposing the value leak, the illusion of the system.
So, the source material argues that systemic robbery isn't just some random stroke of bad luck. No. It's actually deliberate capital flight. The text outlines what it calls a proxy class. Think of this as a specific group of people who are kept totally stationary while their economic and intellectual worth is systematically drained away. In these extractive economies, it's like pouring water into a bucket with a giant hole in the bottom. Wealth might enter a community, sure, but it instantly leaks right back out because it gets captured by outside entities instead of circulating locally. And that brings us to this incredible quote. There is no loophole in causality. Basically, if life and economics are governed by hard mathematical formulas, you absolutely cannot expect a different output if you don't change your inputs, right? This philosophy strips away the idea of relying on hope or luck as an actual strategy. Instead, it forces a massive shift toward pure algorithmic thinking. If the mathematical output of your specific environment equals poverty, you literally have to alter the equation. Moving on to Part 2, the Sentient Sentinel Protocol, the mindset. To survive that value leak, you need a new mental operating system. A sentient sentinel replaces the usual emotional narrative, waiting for the world to be fair, reacting to systemic debt, getting stuck in a victim mentality, with a cold architectural audit of reality. Systemic awareness is all about freezing the variables. It's about recognizing objective value exchange and essentially securing the scene like an auditor looking at a spreadsheet.
Now this brings us to a super fascinating psychological insight from our sources. We almost always think of frustration as a failure, right? Or just a purely negative emotion. But here, frustration is completely redefined as your intellect actively flagging the play. It's just an internal alarm going off. By reframing a negative emotion into a neutral data point, frustration just becomes your brain mapping the exact location of a missing value or a mishandled exchange. It tells you exactly where you need to pivot.
And this phrase right here is the definitive creed of the Sentient Sentinel. Light in the presence, life for the future. Light in the presence means shining a spotlight to provide immediate visibility, so we can stop the robbery of value today. It's seeing the trap for what it actually is. And life for the future? That's the generational piece. It's about generating a lasting, objective reality and establishing protocols so tomorrow's generation isn't caught in that exact same systemic trap.
Let's dive into Part 3, umushia, the mobile intellect.
Okay, so umushia is actually a phonetic pivot of the phrase "I'm out here." But in this context, it's no longer just about physically being outside on the street. It's transformed into a formal architecture for what the source calls the mobile intellect. It's the ultimate posture of a boss who treats every single interaction as a venture, making a definitive declaration that they are going to move forward, regardless of whatever resistance they might encounter.
And this is where tactical agility comes into play. You start treating an obstacle not as a dead end, but simply as a logistics problem just waiting for a creative workaround. The thinking capitalist moves to increase their surface area, constantly hunting for side doors of opportunity. While everyone else is standing around, complaining that the front door is locked, the mobile intellect, they're already checking the roof. You simply shrug off established norms just by refusing to stop moving.
I love this point because this framework completely redefines luck. Luck is absolutely not some random lightning strike from the universe. It's really just the natural, mathematical byproduct of a high-velocity intellect intersecting with a decaying system. Because you're constantly venturing and constantly in motion, finding that gap or opportunity becomes a statistical inevitability. You found the gap simply because you were the only one moving fast enough to see it.
Which leads us to Part 4, the boss vocabulary, sincerity over scripts.
You might be surprised to hear this, but dropping scripted pleasantries actually strengthens your authority.
In the normal, scripted world, we say sorry out of social compliance, mostly just to mask mistakes. But in the sovereign world, you offer an apology paired with an immediate correction, proving you are entirely in control of the fix. And instead of a reflexive thank you that can kind of sound like accepting a pittance or taking on a debt, you express sincere appreciation for a true value-for-value exchange. It replaces those automated, robotic reactions with high-fidelity communication.
All right, part 5, the 8 laws of success, the execution.
So here they are, the 8 laws of success. Start with a great attitude, be on time, be prepared, work a full shift, work your territory correctly, maintain a great attitude, know your why, and finally, take control. Now, I know what you're thinking, but these aren't just cheesy motivational posters to hang up in a break room. They are literally the internal mechanical gears of a sovereign entity. This is the baseline operating system for anyone who truly wants to own their time, their effort, and their income potential. This comparison perfectly captures the symmetry of self-reliance. The world's stance is often pretty cold, basically saying, I don't owe you a path. But the archetype's response? It's brilliant. It's, then you don't have a say in my destination. Wow. By waiving your right to demand anything from the world, you brilliantly revoke the world's power to dictate your limits. You're no longer sitting around waiting for permission or justice to move the needle. You literally are the needle.
And that brings us to part 6, the Try Not Cry legacy, the horizon.
The source material calls this the try not cry gospel. Basically, it's a total unwavering rejection of the victim narrative. By broadcasting the daily grind, the obstacles, and all your strategic pivots, you're visually proving a massive point. You aren't just showing off a shiny finished trophy, you're showing the raw, gritty mechanics of the struggle itself. You prove that a person who never quits isn't some fairy tale, they're a living result of discipline. It shows anyone watching that returning to basic exchange principles actually works, and that relentless momentum is the absolute ultimate cure for despair.
The world cannot start what it did not start. Just think about that for a second. If you are the engine of your own existence, if you are the architect of your own movement, then external pressures, whether that's eviction attempts, systemic pushback, or just societal norms, they're reduced to mere background noise. That pressure is designed to make you fold, for sure. But your refusal to stop moving completely breaks that pressure.
So, I'll leave you with this. In a world where so many people are hyper-focused on what they are owed, what will you choose to build? The source material makes this incredibly clear. The true boss, the sentient sentinel, they don't sit around waiting for a seat at the table. They build the room itself, one relentless, highly calculated move at a time. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep